So our next award winner is Chuck's Fish. This is a project that many of you have come to notice. I know several folks with healthy local appetites that have come back there again and again. They also offered, just as a trivia fact, a really innovative take-home, make-your-own sushi kit as a curbside option. But Chuck's Fish won for outstanding adaptive reuse. Let's go through the description here. So this was built in the early 1940s in Art Moderne or streamlined Art Deco style. I'm sure some folks are going to get at me for my pronunciation. As well you should, but keep in mind you have to stay 6 feet away from me. It is typical for Greyhound bus stations at the time. This building operated as a bus station from the 1940s until 2013, serving Greyhound, Trailways, and most recently Southeastern stages. After a brief spell as Junkman's daughter's brother, it was converted to the seafood restaurant Chuck's Fish. After being hidden for years, the exterior once again mimics that of a 1940s bus station. So we're thrilled to recognize the recipients here. Charles Morgan III, owner of Chuck's Fish, ARM, architect, Lisa Ellis, interior design, and Grahl Construction as contractor. As a fun fact, the restaurant is named from Charles' father, Chuck Morgan Jr., a civil rights attorney. So really a lot to celebrate here. Also, according to the Atlanta Civil Rights Museum, this bus station was a pit stop for the Freedom Riders as they stopped in coming through Athens, Georgia. So really phenomenal history at this location that we're thrilled to celebrate. And what a great overlap with that fun fact about the name of Chuck's Fish.
Okay, well, at this point, we're going to discuss the next award, which is for Outstanding Adaptive Reuse. Many of you would be familiar with the former bus station on Broad Street. I think that I read somewhere that it was actually called the Union Bus Station. I remembered it as the Greyhound Bus Station, I guess, but it was the Union Bus Station. And we are very fortunate to have 3 guests with us tonight that were involved in this project. So I'm going to introduce them one at a time. First, I'd like to introduce Charles Morgan III, who is the owner of Chuck's Fish, which is the restaurant that is in the former bus station. Charles, we're glad to have you here tonight and appreciate your time to be with us and talk more about that. I'd also like to go ahead and introduce Lisa Ellis. Lisa Ellis is the owner of Lisa Ellis Designs, and she is the reason that we have this fantastic restaurant. She put together a team of people that could help her make this this restaurant a realization for Charles Morgan. And so I'm glad to have you here tonight as well, Lisa. And then last but not least, I want to introduce Dwayne Bray, who is with Grahl Construction. Dwayne was the project manager and the one that made everything come to fruition. So we're glad to have you tonight as well, Dwayne. So thank you for being here. So to start, I'm going to, what I've said in the past on some of these live casts is that one of the nice things about the fact that we are in this unusual pandemic time is that we are not doing our normal presentation in the auditorium of the Morton Theater, where we basically announce the award, introduce the award winner, and then they're off the stage. So because we've got the time to do this every day, we get to do a little bit more in-depth discussion about the project and to meet the people that are behind it. And so, of course, we wouldn't be here tonight if it wasn't for Charles Morgan, who is the owner of Chuck's Fish. By the way, Chuck's Fish is named after his father, Chuck Morgan. And so we're glad to have you here. And so I want you to talk a little bit about you and how you get started. I mean, you own several restaurants, and so this is obviously not your first rodeo. And so we'd really like to hear a little bit more about how you got started and your background. So tell us a little bit about that, Charles. Uh-oh, don't think we can hear you.
You see, how do you do the voice on this thing?
There we go. You're good. We can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, David, and thanks to Tommy. We weren't aware of this award, but our policy is always if somebody's offering awards, we'll take it. So we're excited, and we thank you very much. And through this, we've had the Five Bar restaurant in Athens for a while before this came along, and through this project, we got to know Lisa and Dwayne, and they become friends. And we haven't done a whole lot of construction projects, nothing like this actually. But I don't think we had any unusual glitches. I mean, we got along really well. We built the Five Bar. I'm not sure exactly how long ago it was, but we did that the way we've done almost all of our restaurants. We didn't have a Lisa Ellis. We didn't have a Dwayne either. We had a little ragtag bunch of guys that I fish with down here, and our decision making was a little bit different. We would Goose, who's our painter, he would hold out three different colors, green, red, and blue, and I'd say, "You pick one." But it looks, we like the way Five looks, and that's kind of the way. And we've also never done a new building like Michael Stipe and Yvonne Chouinard, who we've followed for a long time with Patagonia. Patagonia has never built a freestanding retail store. Yvonne Chouinard's attitude is that there are plenty of wonderful buildings that are empty that need to be inhabited, and so that's what we've done. This was a little bit different. We've been in Athens for a while through the Five Bar. I will say the week that we opened Five, the New York Times they do a wonderful thing on the travel section on Sunday, 36 hours in Albuquerque, 36 hours in Portland, Oregon, and it was 36 hours in Athens, Georgia. And the first sentence of the article was, Athens is a hyper-local town. And I remember thinking, yeah, I mean, we like hyper-local towns. But part of that is they're a little leery of outsiders coming to a town to conduct business. But we were aware of that, and we've done it before in different places. We're from Destin, Florida. And I think we made a lot of smart moves. Dane Henderson, who's our partner, I'm not the owner of Chuck's Fish, I have partners. And Dwayne's probably Dane's the most important one. And he's done a really good job we do more than just sponsor the local little league or soccer teams. And we wanted to be a part of Athens, and it took us a little while, but I think people have realized we're decent people, and that's been important to us. And otherwise we wouldn't have been able to do the Chucks, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without Lisa or Dwayne. And we didn't interview any designers, and we didn't interview any construction companies. This is who we were pointed to. That's who we got. And it was really through David Hughes, who's a friend of ours in Athens. And I think he knew he was hurting my feelings a little bit, but when we got the building, he said, for this one, you need to hire a real professional designer instead of my deal with Goose and James and Rick, the guys. But he was correct, and he was right. This was a little bit more prominent, and so we took his advice. We got Lisa, and we got you, and we got Dwayne, and we ended up with a very nice store. We're excited about it.
Great. That's fantastic. So tell us a little bit about your background. So you're based in Destin?
I am. I've lived here for 40 something years.
Okay. And so how many other restaurants do you have?
I'm involved in 14 restaurants scattered about.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, we are so excited as Athenians to have something like Chuck's Fish. People I know they were anticipating it from the minute that the word got out that this was going to happen, and so we appreciate the fact that you followed through with it and that you were able to accomplish this. So, Lisa, as the designer and the person that brought this whole team together, tell us a little bit about your inspiration for this former bus station, and maybe some of the things that we're involved in being able to convert that to a really exciting, top-notch restaurant.
Well, first, I think I need to maybe clarify one little detail that you're glazing over is that you, David Matheny, and your firm were also an integral part of this team, and very necessary to make it happen. So I don't know if that was made clear, but I wanted to make that very clear.
We're making it clear. How about that?
So yeah, David Hughes called me up and said, I think I've got something fun. And I have to say, the idea of working on a bus station, particularly one that, I've been in that bus station. I think as a little girl, I rode from Americus, Georgia up to see my grandparents in that bus station. So I know that a lot of the bands in the 80s, that's how they got around from the Athens rock and roll deal as they got on those buses. And so what a cool spot to be able to think about doing something with. So I immediately dug in historically and thought of it in two ways. One, I wanted to let it be what it was, but not make it cliche either, not have it turn into a caricature of a bus station. So with Dwayne, I immediately got together and we talked about the materials and what would be practical to keep the basic materials, the CMU block and the terrazzo floors, but it also meet health, safety, and the functionality of a restaurant, that those materials would meet up. And the other thing that was important to me and to Charles too, it's a tricky lot. And we knew that we needed to have some street appeal and make it, when you go down Broad, that's pretty busy, that you don't just drive by and not notice it. So we envisioned putting that deck out front. And so I studied a lot of bus stations that did have outdoor seating and tried to match that and make it look like that covered deck with the curve had been there the whole time.
Well, I think that's exactly what needed to be done, and it was successful. I think, working with an existing building like that's been there for so long, people sort of knew it was a bus station, but didn't really think that much about it and just sort of zoomed by. One thing that I think is interesting for our audience to know is that building happened to get saved because of the game day developers. They were the first ones to come in and really build a mid-rise building in downtown that from the ground up. And they were also the first to sort of introduce this game day concept. But one of the hurdles that they had to get through with Athens Clarke County guidelines, and also with, at that time, Historic Athens was known as Athens Clarke Heritage Foundation, was that they were, part of their deal was that they had to save this building. They didn't want to save this building. They wanted the land for making it easier to get in and out. But that was one of the criteria for getting this project approved. And so we really end up needing to thank them for the fact that this bus station got preserved, or we wouldn't even be here talking about it. So that's kind of a neat little sideline there. But also, I think that Lisa, and you've told me a little bit about this in the past, but some of the larger bus stations had larger outdoor areas, canopies, those sorts of things that allowed people to be able to be outside and inside. And while there was a canopy on the east side of the building where the buses, I guess, would pull up and allow passengers on and off under some sort of cover, there was no cover on the front of the building. And so one of your inspirations that I recall that you really were looking for us to do was to create this canopy, which we could use for some outdoor dining, and which has turned out to be critical for a restaurant, but also it gives some life to the building when you see people sitting outside and, congregating and enjoying the outside areas there. So I think that was really important. And it was also very difficult to try to figure out a way to get people to the front door. And so you had a lot of good ideas about that. And so I'll credit to my partner, Brett Thurman, who was very instrumental in us trying to figure out how this very tight site. I almost wonder how buses even got around that building. Sometimes it was so tight, but the things that he was able to do and that we were all able to do to get a logical, handicap accessible entrance to Chuck's Fish and make it work. So that was really great. Of course, the inside had a lot to be desired, and we obviously had to start over with new restrooms but taking advantage of the so you can see a inspiration drawing there was that Lisa's group did, and doggone, it looks just like that. So it worked. That's good. Of course, I will say, and I'm not sure if between Charles and between Lisa, but there was some early discussions about some sort of large fish as a sign on this building. I mean, an actual 3-dimensional type fish on the front of this building. Unfortunately, Athens Clarke County didn't buy into that, so that didn't happen, but it's okay. It all still works together.
It was to mimic a Greyhound on some of the early Greyhound bus stations. They had 3-dimensional Greyhound on a large vertical, but that's what we were trying to do. But yeah, it didn't meet code.
Yeah, and meet code. That's
Yeah.
right. So, yeah, so you see the 3-dimensional sign out there now. But anyway, it all worked out, and of course that's the building before we did any work on it, and it really has sparked and looks great. So, Dwayne, let me ask you a question about any kind of unusual things that popped up. I mean, anytime you're dealing with renovation, you're going to, most of us have lost our pair of x-ray glasses, and so we can't see everything that's going on, even though we wish we could. But there had to be surely something that came up that might have been unforeseen that we all had to deal with. That maybe you can recall. I don't know. Do you recall anything like that?
Sure. As we all know, when you're doing a renovation on an older building, especially one of this age, a couple of things that you want to do is maintain the character, which from the very beginning in talking with Lisa, Charles, yourself, it was very important to maintain those beautiful metal rafters, the wood roof decking, and the terrazzo floors. They were original. So it was important for us to maintain and repair where we could, what we needed. But also, now we've got a footprint that is existing, and now we need to put a kitchen, some storage, some bathrooms, a walk-in freezer, a bar area, all this into this one space. And as we're opening up the floors where we think there's existing plumbing, we think there's existing water, sewer going out, all of a sudden it's not there. Or either we find additional stuff underground that we had no clue was there. So like I said, anytime you do any type of renovation on an existing building, once you open it up, you never know what you're going to hit. And
Well, that's for sure. But I will say that we were all fortunate enough to have you and Grahl Construction involved, because you dealt with it, and you dealt with it with a positive attitude. And I think that really means a lot, don't you think, Lisa?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, we couldn't have had a more delightful team to work with, including David Matheny. When we encountered obstacles, everyone was about coming up with solutions and thinking outside of the box. There were some little obstacles, but
The front canopy was a small obstacle, and we all got our heads together and we had a couple of meetings on site, and it shows you what teamwork will do when we're all on the same page. And we are truly a team on something like this,
Yeah.
including with the owner. And it takes a team to bring something like this together and stay within budget.
That's right. That's right. Well, and speaking of owner, it's always delightful to have an owner that can put his trust into his team and let them get that accomplished. So again, thank you, Charles, for that. I want to take a minute to give our Athens audience a little bit more in-depth understanding about who Charles Morgan really is when it comes to being a part of the community. And being as generous as he is. There is a program that he started called American Lunch. And I want Charles to talk a little bit about that so that people know, that you're not just opening a restaurant and walking away, but that you are involving yourself in the community, not just Athens, but the other communities where you have places of business. But talk a little bit about American Lunch.
Well, American Lunch was an idea that my youngest son Chatham had when he was in school, and we started it in Tuscaloosa, where he went to college. And his idea was that, historically, we've had soup kitchens, but a lot of folks don't have transportation to get to where there's available food. And so we started with a food truck 10 years ago. And originally we bought a food truck like you might see around town that makes tacos. We realized that's not what we needed, because we operate these trucks in places that we have restaurants and health department certified kitchens. So they're really a delivery vehicle, and they're outfitted to serve food on the go. And it was, none of us, I don't think, were prepared for this pandemic. But for American Lunch, we were set up for it, and it was our time to shine. In April alone, we served over 30,000 meals to people in 6 different cities. That and the people we feed, we've got several standard lines. And one is, we're not giving back to the community. That's a cliche that we do not use. And everywhere where we live, we're part of the community. And so it's not that, and it's we do not ask questions. There are no questions asked. The food is available to everyone, and it's something that the people that work with us get tremendous enjoyment out of. American Lunch is a 501c3, and then we have a lot of younger staff members that have never had the opportunity to be involved in a nonprofit group. They're in school. And they are the ones, and Dane Henderson can tell you this, in Athens in particular, they're the ones that keep this thing going. So we've been successful in the restaurant business for 40 years. We've made a profit doing it. And for us, giving away a little bit of food is not that big a deal. We have a lot of people that help us. We have a lot of people that volunteer. We have people that donate food. And it's not that big a deal. If it was real difficult, we wouldn't be doing it. And we enjoy it, and it's important, and it makes a change in a lot of people's lives, not just the people receiving the food, but the people that are giving the food out. So we'll continue to do that. In any place that we operate, we'll have an American Lunch.
Yeah. I think that's magnificent. And I also want to take that just a bit further, because I also understand that if your employees volunteer and give time toward this American Lunch, that at the end of the year, if they put in an X number of hours, I'm not sure what it was, maybe 100 hours or something, that they are actually offered some sort of bonus by your company. And I think that's really an outstanding thing to do to help younger people coming along to know what it means to actually to give and to donate, where they might not ordinarily do it, but this is a way they could do it, maybe without even being in a financial position not to be able to do it, but they can give their time toward that. Is that pretty much what happens with your employees?
Yeah, we started years ago. You know, we do have kids who are working their way through school. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So they've got some responsibility already, and we offer, if they'll, and it doesn't just have to be American Lynch, any 501c3, the local animal shelter, Habitat for Humanity, we encourage our kids to participate. And if they give 2 hours a week, 100 hours a year, we pay them at the end of the year. And we pay them well above minimum wage. And again, these are, every time I'm in Athens, the kids that I see that participate in this, for many of them, it's their first real opportunity to be involved in something that's a little bit bigger than themselves. And when you see young, oftentimes suburban kids that latch onto this at an early age, you know, we're about a little bit more than restaurants. If it was, we would be very bored if this was just a standard business. We want to do a little bit more, and that's what makes it worthwhile to us, and that's why we keep doing it.
Great. I think that's well worth our audience knowing about, and I commend you for your business ethics in doing that, and so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lisa, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about with the interior? I mean, I can't tell you the number of people that have gone in there and left and said, that place is the most amazing experience that I've been to in a long time. So, I mean, congratulations to you. And I mean, you do a lot of hospitality sort of things. I know you've been involved in restaurants in Savannah and all around. So I'm sorry I can't name them all, but you know, this had to be something that you have a lot of pride about. I mean, it's just really gorgeous. So is there anything about, I mean, the tile work, the colors,
it's also really good food.
It is really good food. That's right. Don't forget that.
Good food. And it's fresh. They send up, and fabulous sushi. One little fun anecdote. Tommy had some interior photos before, and I think a couple of them was the first day I met Charles, and I walked in and there was toilet paper on the floor in a shape. And Charles said, this should be easy. That's the bar. That's the sushi bar. That's the kitchen. There it is. We've already done it for you. That's where it's going. And that's where it is. It's right where that toilet paper is.
Well, you know, that's amazing how useful toilet paper could have been. It's a good thing we weren't in the pandemic, or you wouldn't have been able to find any toilet paper to lay it out with. So there you go. That's a new tool that I hadn't thought about. I think I'll keep a roll in my car in case I need to roll it out and use it as a marker.
Yeah.
Way to go, Charles. That's a good idea.
But the floors, you know, Dwayne had to chop up the floors for all the drains that were required, for all the sinks to wash the hands. And so we wanted to preserve the floors, but a lot of it was chopped up. And so then we figured out how to incorporate some tile and mimic the shape of the curved sushi bar so that we could tie in the floors. And you know, it's all what you do in dealing with a historic building. We had to tear out the existing bathrooms, and there was a lot of big glass block in those bathrooms. So we reintroduced glass block, and Dwayne found some that was just like the original. So we reintroduced that in a couple of places, and we used, you know, a laminated countertop that would have been appropriate to the period. So we did nod to the period, and then we had brought in lighting that was a little bit more contemporary. So it's kind of a nod to the present and to the staying with the materials. Made it fun.
Yeah. Well, it's evident. So I want to thank all of you for being with me tonight on this. I think it's such a great project, and it's certainly a well-deserved award to you all. It is one of Athens' jewels, and thanks to you all that this was actually accomplished and came to fruition. So it has been very nice talking
And
to you.
you, David, and your team, because none of that front stuff would have happened.
Absolutely.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
The sign that had to be taken down. Game Day was very generous to allow us to remove their big sign. So
Yeah.
I have.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Thank you all. And I look forward to the day that we can have some sort of live reception and that we can all come together and be in the same room. And again, thank you so much. Thank you for your time tonight and appreciate all that you've done. So good night to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.